Hello, everybody. This is Find Your Flourish. I'm Avrohom Jacks, your CEO or Chief Encouragement Officer, and I'm really grateful that you're joining me for these next few moments. Please like, subscribe, comment. These help the algorithm take our message to a broader audience. Thank you so much. So I want to start today's podcast. In 1919, I want to take you to a place called Cisco in Texas. And there's a person over there. His name is Conrad. And Conrad has just moved to Cisco. He was actually thinking of buying a bank, and things fell through. The deal fell through. So he decided he would buy a hotel, because that's what you do. So he bought a hotel called the Mobley Motel. And he paid $40,000 for it, which was his entire life's fortune at that time. And he had never run a hotel before. He was a soldier in the army, and he had had a good experience in a hotel in Europe when he was deployed. And now that he was back, he tried his hand at politics for a while, but that didn't work out. He felt politicians weren't honest enough for his value system. So there he was in 1919, and he had just bought the Mobley Hotel. So Conrad had a magazine that was made for hoteliers. And this magazine had within it a picture of the Waldorf Astoria. The Waldorf Astoria was the most magnificent hotel at the time in New York. And he had carefully cut out the picture of the Waldorf Astoria. And he had written on it, the grandest of them all, one day I will own that hotel. And he took that picture and he framed it and he put it behind his desk. And every single day he would look at that picture. And anybody who would visit him in the Mobley Motel, in that small little office where he sat, they would see his grand plan. That was his goal. Who was this person, Conrad? What was his last name? His last name was Hilton. And decades later, he bought the Waldorf Astoria and he renamed it to carry his name, the Hilton Waldorf Astoria. And I think this is an indication of the power of making a goal and having that goal. You know, so many business clients that I deal with don't have specific goals, time-bound goals for their businesses. And the truth is that a person could potentially achieve great things even without goals. But it's very interesting. If you look at all the greats of history, you will see that a preponderance of them, a vast majority of them, had written goals. And just the act of writing a goal is very powerful. So when I start with a business client in my business coaching practice, and I begin to work with them, the first thing I'll do is do an exercise to find out and establish what their financial and non-financial goals are. And we'll go through the exercise, and normally we'll start with the financial, and somebody will say, I want to earn X dollars per year annually by Y date. So we'll say a date, I like to go 12 months into the future. What are you thinking then? 24 months into the future, envisage where you are there, and 36 months into the future. So in a year's time, 2 years and 3, what are your financial goals and your non-financial goals? How much time are you spending on the business? How much time are you spending with your family? What does your health look like? What type of food are you eating? So we look holistically and we set very specific goals. So we say, they're called SMART goals. So you say, by this date, I will be earning this amount of revenue. And we say it in the present tense, I'll be earning this amount of revenue. I'll be living this type of a life. And I let them come up with the initial figure. And then I do something really cheeky. I challenge them to multiply that figure by 10. So if somebody says, I want to be doing $1 million in revenue in 12 months, right? And currently, let's say the business in the last 12 months did 600,000. So that's a significant increase in the revenue. And people are pretty satisfied with that. They say, yeah, in 12 months' time, if I was earning $1 million a year, I would be very satisfied with that. So then I push them back and I say, no, do not be satisfied with that. 10x it, times it by 10. What if in 12 months, 24 months, you could be earning $10 million of revenue. Your business could be generating $10 million of revenue. So they'll say, oh, it's impossible. It's impossible. And I go, you are right. It is impossible doing the things that you are doing now to hit that 10x revenue goal. It is impossible. But here's the crazy thing about 10x. There's a book called 10x is easier than 2x. And the premise of this book is that if you go 10x, if you take what are called bold, hairy, audacious goals, or BORGs, if you take upon yourself a BORG, a bold, hairy, audacious goal, then the paths to achieving that become much more limited. So let's say, for example, that your teenage son, and this is an example in the book 10X that he uses, that his teenage son wanted to go to college on a tennis scholarship. So he was a decent tennis player in high school, and he wanted to go on a scholarship, get a scholarship to go to college. Then somebody planted in his mind, why go on a tennis scholarship to college? Why don't you consider becoming a pro tennis player? So then he was like, pro tennis player? Well, all of a sudden, if you wanted to take that goal on to be a pro tennis player, the old coaches, the 100, 150 so coaches that lived in your area that could coach you are no longer all capable of getting you to become a professional tennis player. Now there's only one or two coaches in your state that have the ability to bring you to that level. So instead of just sitting lazily and choosing the coach that's closest to you, you have to seek out that brilliant coach that's going to make you the tennis player of your dreams. So what doing a bold, hairy, audacious goal, what that does is it forces you to figure out what is just noise, what is just busy work, and what is actually going to get you to the goal. And then you use the 80-20 rule. So 80% of what we do only achieves 20% of the results. 20% of what we do achieves 80% of the results. So if you want to succeed in business or in anything in life, you have to figure out what are the 20% of things that are going to help me reach this bold, hairy, audacious goal, this 10x goal. And when you figure out what that 20% is, that's going to bring you to that goal, then you have to work diligently and focus in a focused way only to achieve that goal and not to be distracted by anything else. So what I would urge my clients to do, and what I do urge them all to do, is to make those goals so big and so frighteningly big and scary that the only way that they could achieve it is if they make massive change in their life, positive change. Change that cuts out the 80% of noise that's not really serving them and focuses them on the 20% and the 20% of that 20% that's going to get them to reach those bold, audacious, hairy goals. And you know what happens when you reach these goals, whether they're financial or personal or health goals? When you reach them, you flourish. This is Find Your Flourish. And my blessing to you all is that you find your flourish. And I'm looking forward to spending more time with you again in the near future.